All right, guys, welcome back to another trade recap video. This is going to be on the stock trade that I took on Tuesday, right? On the stock WULF for around a 43% trade so far, right? Obviously, I'm still in this position. I'm trimmed halfway through the position, or a little bit more than halfway through the position, so I'm just leaving some runners at this point. And let me go through this trade for you real quick, and I'm going to show you the exact reasoning why I took it, where I put my stop loss, where I put my take profits and stuff. So let me go through first and foremost the trade entry, right, like I always do. So let me show you the trade entry here. So right here, right, 8:20 or 8:49 a.m. I added WULF $15 calls at around 2:20. So a February expiration, right, a month away or a little under a month away for the $15 calls at 106, right, half size. And I always give my reasonings on going half size or small size, and that was because breakouts have not been working, right? So or haven't been working that well, right? The win rates on the breakouts have been a little bit less recently, right? And obviously, if you've watched my last previous trade recaps, it's been a bunch of undercut trades, right, or taking the trades at the 9 EMAs on the strong stocks, right? So a little bit different on my entries as of recent, right? But obviously, breakouts are my go-to, right? That's what I've been doing, and those have been my favorite setups, right? The breakouts over the last few years, and that's kind of just my strategy now, right? So ended up taking this because obviously this looked really good on the daily chart, and I really like the weekly chart on this, right? So that was kind of the reason why I took it. Even though breakouts have not been working, I was worth taking that shot for a potential breakout here, and clearly it actually ended up playing out well. So happy about that. So well, actually, let me show you the exit so far. So 15% was that take profit one. I trimmed a couple, right? Obviously, when my first take profits hit, if it's around 20 25%, I trim half. But with quick take profits with not a lot of percentage gain, it was only 15%. I trimmed a couple. I didn't trim the full, or I didn't trim half. So that was the reasoning for that. And then on that big push through the take profit ones, I trimmed around 28%. So that's when I trimmed half. So I trimmed half my position around 30%, and then I trimmed some more at around 43%. And that's where we're at right now, right around 43%. So I'm leaving these for potential push to around 16. And that's where I'm looking at now, right? So let me go through kind of the reasoning why I took it, and then I'll show you my take profits and stuff. So obviously my entry was on that 14.5 spot, right? So this line right here, 14.5 was my entry, or where I wanted to enter ideally, and then I'll show you my take profits here. So my take profit one was that 14.5 spot. It was just a big key level here from that rejection back in January 14th. So kind of this top of this trend here was that take profit one. It's a small, key level here, just in case this thing wants to reject. And obviously with breakouts, it's typically been that first take profit, and then it fails to continue that breakout and kind of just gets weaker and loses momentum at that spot. So I wanted to take some profits there. And then my second take profit was that $15 spot, that $15 psychological level. So that was my second take profit. And then obviously now for my third, I'm looking to target around 16, right? So that's kind of the top of this range here. We've seen a lot of rejections around that spot. So that would be my last take profit. And then obviously if we get to that point, I'll hold a little more runners to potentially see higher than that, right? And so that's where I'm at on that. And then let me go through my entry. And then obviously there's like this weird glitch that WULF has with this huge wick up to like 40. Obviously that's like didn't happen. So we're gonna have to like ignore that because it looks weird. But pretty much, right, the entry right at 14.5 or 15. That was my entry right around 8:49. So this candle here, I entered when we did see a couple wicks here at the top of the spot. So that was a little bit what made me cautious about taking it, but ended up, right, we had a really good risk reward here, right? We took the trade and had my stop loss. Where is this at? So we had the stop loss, right? If we entered our in here, why is it? Oh my gosh, what the heck happened? Okay, so my stop loss was only down at the low of day here. So it was very small risk, right? I mean, we're only risking around a 2% downside, and then ideally would want to see 15. So it was a 2.2 risk reward, right? RR. So worth a shot. Obviously the first take profit was a 1-to-1. So ideally not the greatest entry, but still, right, when we see breakouts typically, right, they usually can explode off those spots, right, especially in strong stocks and in strong sectors, right, like WULF, right, a data center stock. So we've seen a lot of these stocks been ripping, so worth the shot on that. So that's what happened, right? Took that first 5-minute candle, even though it closed slightly under it, I still ended up taking it, obviously half size, so it was worth doing that for only half size. And then the next 5 minutes we ripped to highs, ripped the high day, trimmed for 15% on that candle at 14.5, and then that next 5-minute candle that absolutely ripped here. And you can't see the volume because of the stupid glitched candle, but there was a ton of volume right on that big push out here. So you can see now, big volume on that push. That's where we got 28%. So that contract's really juiced at that point. And at that point, right, I'm dropping down to the 15. I'm just watching it, right? The rest of the day, it's been holding the 9 EMA. Obviously, I trimmed as soon as it got to that $15 level here at around 10.15. I trimmed. That's my second take profit. That was where it was 48% or 43%. So I trimmed there. And then so far, right, we're basically right at the highs, right? We're right under that $15 spot. Now I'm looking for this next push to eventually break out over 15 to go to 16, right? So that's where I'm targeting now. And that's the trade so far. And if you look in the daily, it looks a lot more cleaner. Obviously, we don't have that stupid candle, that glitch candle. So that's where we're at now, right? Quick and easy, right? Trade recap wasn't too fancy, but this is what my bread and butter is, the breakout. So that's what is that is what the trade is looking like, right? So we'll come back. Hopefully we'll be up more, and then I'll come back for more trade recaps later in the week. But so far so good. First 2 trades of the week, 1 break-even trade, and then this is my second trade of the week, which is up 43%. And we keep the green streak alive to, I think, 7 trades in a row, 6 trades in a row green. Obviously, we don't count break-even trades as a loss because break-even trades are wins in my book. And so far, 7 wins in a row. We'll go for 8, 9, and then 10. Hopefully we get to 10 in a row. Knocking on wood so I don't jinx it. But be tuned in to the next one. I'll see you on the next trade recap video.